Alright everybody, I hope you're doing well. Today I've got a neat video. I'm going to show you a very old sword. I have this sword dated to the mid 1500s. As far as the blade, the handle and the scabbard, I'm going to use English terms instead of Japanese terms because I have a American audience and I don't really speak Japanese, so I don't want to mix any of these terms up. So I'm just going to use simple English terms for describing this sword. The sword blade, like I said, is dated mid 1500s, made by a guy named Kanetane, and has a bunch of inscriptions all over the sword blade, which is really unusual. So I'll go ahead and show you it. I got it in this bag, which is a pretty neat artifact in and of itself. Um, it's got cranes and flowers all over it. This was a kimono at one point, so this was somebody's dress, and it's been repurposed into a sword bag, which is funny because it even has a modern zipper in the inside of it. So just a beautiful piece of cloth. It's got gold and orange and blue silk thread. Just gorgeous. It's got some cranes all over it. So really, really lovely. All the Japanese sword bags that I have are just really beautiful. I have swords in them, but just that you don't see that a lot with like a lot of European stuff. So um, I do have some old European swords, but nothing matches the quality because a lot of the European swords are for military. These are family heirlooms and stuff like that. So they had a different culture for weapon making in Japan. Um, and weapon upkeep because this sword is, mid 1500s and the blade is pretty good looking as far as its age. So, um, this obviously this scabbard and this handle were probably Edo period, much later, just based on the fact that they're, you know, surviving. A lot of the scabbards and the handles for these swords were they would just disintegrate over time because they were carried around and just fell apart. You can't really live in Japan and have a lot of your stuff survive unless you maintain it. And a lot of these swords were just kept in houses, or you know, this sword blade was in a Buddhist temple. So the sword blade survives, but its original furniture does not. So I'll go ahead and show you this. The actual front end, this ox horn, is in pretty good shape. The little pocket for the knife to fit into is long since been torn off. It would have sat right in here, and then the handle would have gone right here. So you can see the scabbard has been damaged. It had allowance for only one, so it has this buffalo horn belt tie attachment. So the handle is pretty simple. It's got this brown silk with a very simple end cap. This side has one of these little handle sculptures that are called minukis, and they have this one is a flower with some gold inlay on it. This side is a cloud. This handle has some neat little flowers. And the actual scabbard is pretty neat, or the handguard. It has gold inlay left over, and it's just a bunch of flowers. Flowers and vines. It's the same story on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and take the sword out and I'll show you how the sword looks. So the blade is actually in way better condition than the actual handle. And again, this handle was put on this sword way later than the date of production for the blade. So which is interesting because the scabbard mouth, this part here, still fits pretty nicely onto the hibaki, which is this little silver bit right here. I'm going to be using a rag to hold the sword, but I did just use degreaser on my hands. I used rubbing alcohol, so I don't have a lot of oils on my fingers, so if I touch the tang, I'm not really too worried. I'll just wipe it a little bit. So this sword, I believe, was a Buddhist temple sword because it has ceremonial inscriptions on it that were really uncommon for a lot of these swords. And they're old because this sword has been repolished, and you can tell by the condition of the polish and the depth of the inscription that these were polished over. So these are old words put on this sword. So Google Translate tells me that these two signs mean benevolence and wisdom. So that's Google Translate, so could be way off, but I tend to trust the opinion. And then on this side has for the glory of the sutra. So it's really unusual to find an old sword blade with these markings like this. There are a lot of samurai swords never really had these. And this sword was never cut down or shortened or anything because the hamon actually travels down and curves along with the tip. So the keisaki tip here actually has the hamon bending and traveling at the same direction as the sword. So it's nice to know that this wasn't ever shortened all that much. The hamon is very present. You can see that. There we go. Sorry. There's a better. Looking at it on the camera, you can't see the grain structure of the foldings, but when I'm in the presence of this sword, I can clearly see, like if you've seen a Damascus steel knife, the folding is very present on this sword. Think of it like a wood grain. This has that sort of wood grain pattern. I'm going to take this out of its handle. You're Cinderella? You got your one shoe? So, I'll take this out. And I'll show you. Oh, also too, I have the NK BHT or whatever paperwork here.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Nathan.
Hello. So, this
Hi,
is...
Daddy.
Hello, sweet pretty.
A placemat.
Yeah. I'm showing the sword to everybody.
Ooh. Cow.
Like Makugi, or
No, don't eat
the little pin is hard to retrieve on this one because it's broken. Cover your mouth. You gotta cover your mouth. Remember Daddy told you? So, again, she's a little under the weather. So, I will show you this. The Tang inscription has Mighty Tree of Ichizen. kanetane, which is the signature of the sword maker. So it's really neat. It's got a big long inscription. Here's a better shot of the hibaki.
1, 2,
This is a silver one, which is weird.
3, 4, 5, 6.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put this sword back together.
I'm too happy no more. I'm feeling too happy. I'm feeling too happy. I'm feeling too happy. I'm feeling too happy. When I feel too happy, I can watch.
So that's this sword here. Very neat piece of history. I was very happy to share it with you guys. It's crazy that something this old, again, the blade's 1500's era, and just weird to think that something this old is still usable. The blade is sharp, and I could easily cut stuff with it. So I will not, because it's, you know, an unusual sword. It has the markings all over it. So yeah, this is my my presumably Buddhist temple sword. Again, it's, for the glory of the sutra, is a very clear Buddhist statement. So that's the sword. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye. Say bye bye. Say bye bye. No bye bye? Alright. Bye bye.